And I just got in from checking springers, so it was ideal.
Good morning, myfanwy. How you going this morning? You already been out checking the springers, did you just say?
Yeah. So I've been out to check them. We've got a busy week this week. So calving is almost upon us. Plan started calving date is the 1st of August, even though the heifers have started, but they're just dribbling in nice and quietly. But everyone's plan start of their calving date is the 1st of August. So this week we are drafting everyone into their specific mobs based on expected calving date. So obviously there's always a few anomalies in that mix, but at least that will give us a good starting point to rev up from there. And it should be easy to get springers then instead of having all these different mobs that we have to bring in all the time. So yes, I spent all day yesterday on a huge planning mission. So hopefully I'm sorted. And it's hard when you're taking over someone else's records and what someone else has done, because it's not that they've done anything wrong or anything. It's just you don't know what they've done. And so it's just a wee bit tricky. You're like, what does it mean in calf but no date? Like what the heck's that about? So now I've got a whole little mob called in calf unknown calving date. But anyway, it's quite fun doing it with halter though, and you got to set up all the different mobs. And now each of my mobs, they're all organized, but they're still in their original paddock, so there's like 7 different mobs in one paddock. Anyway, it's very exciting. Emily's got a little bit more of an idea of what I'm talking about because she came out last week, didn't you? You and
Yes.
Ted and Iz.
Not the whole team, but yeah, our wee team came over and had a great time at the Alexanders looking at the farm. Such a cool spot, guys, honestly, and just right on the north side of the Waitaki River, so she's definitely in red and black country.
Oh, darn it, I didn't put my Highlanders hat on.
You'll be bandwagon jumping. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't already, seeing we won the final. Anyway. But yeah, on those rolling hills right on the river. So while you've got some good flats for deer, and small rolling for your platform, there's some really cool hills that you get some epic views down the river, but then also out towards the plains as well. So yeah, it was so cool having a good look around, taking the kids on the side by side, and Izzy loved the horses. I don't know that I've heard anything else about anything since, much to her father's
It's so funny, because she was taking it in when she was with them, but you could tell she was a wee bit nervous because they were jumping and skipping around.
Appropriate response though, right?
Yeah, thank God. You don't want to running between their feet or something ridiculous. But yeah, you could tell she was just taking it all in and thinking about it and being like, yeah, okay. And then obviously went home and went, yep, I want one.
Well, that has not been entertaining.
I knew it would happen. Oh, you just wait. I said that for years, and now look where I am with 2 horses that I look after. They actually went on a trek this weekend, because one of the great things about this farm, is it gives heaps of opportunity to disappear off treks. And, well, you'll know now, Belle and her friend went right out to the woolshed out at High Lee. So that was really great. It was a big, long trek for them, and they had a lovely day of it. So, yeah, lots of fun opportunities here.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, great. And it was a really cool spot and lovely day. We all had fun. So that was great.
You got to see a wallaby, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I spotted some pests.
And the back garden.
In the back garden. So, no, it was good all round. And it was really nice to see you in person and to catch up. We didn't even talk podcast, really. We just sort of caught up, which was really
nice. 5
nice.
minutes, I think. There was so much other stuff to chat about. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And you came with half the circus, but just for one afternoon away. But it was worth it. You needed most of that stuff, didn't you, by the end of it?
Yeah, I don't think I didn't use anything that I didn't bring. I don't think I bought extra stuff.
No, it's crazy, eh? No, it's good. It's like we were saying.
Sponsored by Honest Wallace and Susie's, right? Just carrying all the stuff around.
And those super cool reusable nappies that you have.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anyway, should we crack into it?
Yeah, so off the back of the pest, we'll just reorder our news. So we saw wallabies in your back garden, which obviously create huge issues in New Zealand. We've talked about them a couple of times. And we have also talked about the kangaroos over in Australia and their issues. But I found this article, ABC News, talking about kangaroos. So New South Wales outback, the far west, is having a serious time with it. They've got a real bad drought. They've had about 100 millimetres of rain this year, some places less than that. So they're just, terrible drought. But what's making it even worse is a whole lot of them are having to destock, if not completely, at least partially, because of the lack of feed. And the reason they've got such a lack of feed is actually because there's thousands of feral goats and kangaroos. There's, like, in the article, some people are saying 3,000 or 4,000 kangaroos in a corner of a paddock.
Wow.
And they said, you can get permits or you can get roo shooters in, but if you take 65 roos out one night in a population of 30 to 40,000, it doesn't really, make a difference.
Holy heck. Those numbers.
The numbers are, obviously the country is huge, but the numbers are huge. And they're actually saying, and this is what we talked about last time, was the welfare of the kangaroos and the population management. They're actually saying that the kangaroos are starving and are not in a good condition and dying because of that, because there's such a lack of food, because the population has got so big. And someone said, the kangaroos are property of the Crown, and it sort of makes you wonder what rules there are for the government in terms of the welfare for these animals that they're looking after. We talk about pest control all the time, but an aspect of scale that we're just unfamiliar with. I guess it's like the rabbit plagues that we sometimes get down this way, and probably what they were back in the 80s before calicivirus, but that is nutty. 30 to 40,000 kangaroos. And I don't know how you would do a mass cull of a kangaroo if you're shooting 60 a night, but there's 30,000. Because they're quite large animals. Obviously these are large stations, but that's nutty.
I was just thinking about the amount of grass they must eat.
Yep. That was the whole issue. That's why they're destocking.
Yeah. They're huge animals too. It's just shocking the amount that they'll eat. And then if you haven't really got grass anyway, this is what we always talk about with population curves, isn't it? They steeply rise and then they plummet off. And naturally, if we weren't here and there was a drought year, the kangaroos would unfortunately probably have had a really big population for some good years that's been, and then a load of them would just die, and then they'd just get back to growing back up again as the food increased. But the problem is we've kind of got overly involved both ways. So it's just going to be a bit of a management effort from the government, probably.
Yeah, well, I guess that's probably what's happening as the population's boomed and now they're dying. But because we've got improved pasture, well, I don't know if they've got improved pastures out the back there, but because they've got improved pastures, let's say, that will artificially be driving the population higher and providing more of a food source, but that's competing with the commercial needs of the farmer as well. I guess they just jump fences, right? Or maybe there's no fences because it's so big.
Well, if you look at how high wallabies can jump, and they're only little babies compared to kangaroos. Yeah, I'd hate to come across a kangaroo on a dark night. I think we've gone through this a few times, but no thanks. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they probably don't. I think that's why they have those big rhubars and all the rest of it out there, right? This isn't it's not the Wild West, but it's pretty much as close as you can get to
pretty much is the Wild West. What's left?
Yeah. So closer to home, we've talked about. I'm sort of doing a recap on what's in the news today. Canada and New Zealand have been in a bit of fisticuffs over the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. So I hope I got that right. So this agreement was signed in March of 2018, and it was all around there are 16 countries involved, I think. 12 countries involved, and it was all around getting our trade, so both our trade out into the world and their trade into New Zealand and into each other. So it is, a collaborative agreement between lots of countries about moving trade around the world. One of the key things for New Zealand in it, not saying the only key thing, but one of them was getting dairy into Canada. And Canada had agreed when we signed this partnership to make 16 quotas for New Zealand's dairy products, which otherwise we would have been shut out from the market with tariffs of up to 400%, which is nutty,
crazy,
right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
But we have talked about the protectionist nature of the Canadian dairy market before, and how that it sort of manages internally with balancing profit for farmers and the cost of dairy. It's a totally different shape of a market to what we have in New Zealand. It's very domestically focused, and I don't think they export a whole lot, do they? They kind of look after themselves, and that's about it. Whereas obviously, we've talked about this before, we're 98% export or something crazy like that. So we need to find places to sell our products. So obviously we want to get them into Canada, 16 quotas, March, 2018, happy days. We were excited to get these dairy products out into Canada. But they didn't hold up their end of the deal. They immediately, according to this Farmers Weekly article, set out about undermining that commitment and allocating the bulk of that quota to local processors, which we can understand about protectionist markets and food security and, within country, but they'd already signed up to this agreement that was very complex, so they actually needed to own up to it. And this put us in about a $20 million hole for those first 3 years of not being able to get access to that Canadian market. Why is it so hard to say Canada and Canadian? You always want to mix them together. It's so complicated.
Brilliant.
But so this, in the last wee while, the government's been really pushing back on Canada, and to the point where they've had some legal battles going on to try get them to honour the agreement, and it seems like it's a little bit of hearsay at the moment, but it seems like Minister Todd McClay has actually said that if you don't allow our dairy in, we're going to pull tariffs and put them up on your products coming into New Zealand, which obviously Canada's got enough tariffs going on at the moment with what's going on down in the US with Trump. They've been the hardest hit there, basically, and so they don't want that. But more so than that, New Zealand really wanted to show the rest of the world, again, that we are not a trade nation that you can just walk over because of our small size, and that you will be facing repercussions. And in the past, we've done this through the World Trade Office, which is no longer really operating as slickly as used to. So we have been one of the most successful companies at taking cases to the World Trade Office, which, to take out these arguments, and we've quite often won. We've got a really good record there. But that's all fallen over now because of global politics, and some of the seats at the table aren't filled and they've been stacked. Anyway, there's a whole long backstory. We can go into that another time if we wanted to, but that's not operating quite so well. So we've got to find other ways to get our trade agreements stacking up and people adhering to them. So we've said to Canada that we're going to put these tariffs in place. Goodness, Emily, get your words sorted. Tariffs in place so that if they don't let our dairy in, their products are going to cost a lot more here in New Zealand. And that's got them sorted. They have stood up to the table and our dairy is now going into Canada. So that's a huge win, which is great. But what we've also seen, which is quite exciting, is a few other countries have tightened their belt and gone, New Zealand's not to be messed with. And we've settled a few other small tiffs, which is a great result for New Zealand trade. And I think it really shows that sometimes we do need to take some I don't want to join the Trump trade battle, but you do need to take some strong action to get strong results and be listened to.
I think in this current global climate, you've nailed it, Emily, we just can't be seen to be even vaguely a pushover in this area. We're not doing what Trump did, but we're just saying, hey, you've signed up to this. You need to hold your end of the bargain up, because goodness knows we get held up and bent over a barrel if we even for a second think that we're not going to uphold an end of a bargain with the EU or the Britain or whatever. They're always looking for an opportunity to get out of our trade agreements, hence why, it's important to not jump out of Paris until it all falls apart. We've got to give everyone zero ammunition because they're all waiting for New Zealand. Because like you said, we're the export reliant country. They can all just get on and do their own thing. They do need our products, but at the end of the day, it's more important for us to have access to those markets. So yeah, well done to Minister McClay and the Prime Minister. That's some great work there.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's really set, like you say, set that precedent in the global climate that we're here to play and we will not be looked over just because of our small size.
No, perfect.
So another company that's here to play, Bremworth Carpet. So they're a listed carpet company. I'm sure many people have heard about Bremworth. They, manufacture carpet in New Zealand, and they have been running with a wool-only carpet strategy since 2020. In the last 6 months, if you watch them on the share market, have taken a real dive. And it's just been, unfortunately, a compounding situation for this company. And basically what's happened is a bunch of shareholders, so just reminding everyone who doesn't remember, a company's goal is to deliver value for their shareholders. That's what is mandated in the Companies Act. So this group of shareholders have basically created some upheaval and they have been dissatisfied and they have basically gained control of the company and are trying to turn it around. So they've got a new chair in place, Rob Hewitt. Actually, I'm not sure if he's a new chair or if he is the chair. He has the long-standing chair. But anyway, Rob Hewitt is the chair, and we all know Rob's great work with Silver Fern Farms and Farmlands. He's a really solid chair who's got a great track record in the agri and energy industry. And has done some really cool things in those companies. So he's the chair, and they have led a massive upheaval, which has resulted in 5 board members and a large number of the 5 board members and 5 members of the executive losing their jobs or resigning, and doing kind of a complete refresh of this company. So they're expecting quite poor financial results for this year because of this restructuring, and obviously the company's been going down, but they're really trying to turn it around coming into the next financial year. They've parted ways with their chief executive and then had a number of resignations from the senior executives. And now the important thing to note about here is it's stated in this Farmers Weekly article that these executives have left the company because they have now changed their strategy. So they've been going down a wool-only strategy. All of their carpets have been wool for the last 5 years. They're now going to reintroduce some synthetic carpets to create that shareholder value, which has led to some of the senior executives resigning. And I guess that's where we've got values-based decisions. Shareholders want value, whereas the executives wanted maybe to work for a company that was wool only. So they've parted ways with the company.
It's really interesting. I mean, I think it's not like they're going to go and produce piles and piles of synthetic carpet. It's just an offering. And I think sometimes the dream and the vision can cloud what is actually practical at the end of the day, and to ensure market access and market share, and to mean that they are an important player and that people who stock carpets are looking to them. They kind of need to be across a few different things so that they can push into with a supplier, and then when the people are going in to look at carpet, then their wool carpets are in there as well, and they look at those and they suddenly decide they want a wool carpet, not a synthetic carpet. And there are reasons people can't have wool carpet too. So yeah, I think although it seems like a backward step, it's a big complex picture. And yeah, at the end of the day, the board does have its obligation, like you stated, Emily, to the shareholders and to return value. And this is just like the selling of the Fonterra brands. The reasoning behind it is often sound business sense, even if emotionally we all, might challenge it a little.
Yeah, they did state that getting market access and I guess getting to be top of mind, because I've bought Bremworth carpet recently, and when you go into the shop, they sometimes do just kind of, that's wool carpet, this, and you have to kind of push for that sometimes. So having that brand top of mind, and so people sell it, because typically carpet makers don't sell direct to customer.
No.
The comment about the wool only strategy was also that it was a fair weather strategy, in terms of great strategy, but they needed everything to line up and everything to go in their way to make it work and to make it successful. But we had COVID. And then the cyclone. So there was sales volumes were pushed.
Fair weather.
Yeah, sales volumes were pushed down. Fixed costs particularly were pushed up. So essentially they need to just turn the ship around and get some money in the bank. I think interesting to see a New Zealand company really react to shareholder pressure, and to change away from a strategy that they've really publicly, obviously, put out there and say, hey, we got it wrong. We are going to have to take a U-turn and try something different. So I think it'll be really interesting to watch where they end up in the next 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah, well, good luck to them. It's a difficult job.
So before we jump into our key discussion for the day, I wanted to give a wee shout out to our partners, Cinta, for being, firstly, excellent partners. We feel so supported by Cinta and their team, but they do some great work for New Zealand farmers in getting our voice heard where we can't do it alone. So they are the trusted partner for market research into the agri sector by a lot of companies, organisations, government agencies, all those sorts of things across New Zealand, and they're breaking into Australia. So if you're listening to this in Australia, make sure you jump online and sign up to the Cinta community, because they are building their farmer community over in Australia. And the way that they work, essentially, is the bigger their farmer community in New Zealand, in Australia, or in aggregate, the more they can have a say in these conversations, because people are looking at how big their community is, how many people they can reach, so that they can do their research. So jump online, sign up. It is free to sign up. It's free to do all of their surveys, and you will get a donation to a charity of your choosing for signing up. There's a number of rural charities. I'm not even going to attempt to list them all, because I know that they keep changing, they keep adding new ones. There are specialised ones in New Zealand and Australia. So you sign up, you get a donation to a charity of your choice. When you do a survey, you get a donation to a charity of your choice. And there's often a chance draw or some remuneration connected. I won $50 the other day for doing a survey, so that was quite cool, nice wee treat. And I think that might be the second time I've won some money for doing one of their surveys. They're a great company, they're lovely people to deal with, but it really, if you sign up to their community, does make a difference to rural voices, because the bigger, the stronger the community, the more they can get that voice heard where it needs to go across New Zealand and Australia. So today is a question I've been asking myself, and you sit in those shareholder meetings for the processors, or like the state of the nation as they go around talking about where the meat market, I don't know, Frontier probably have the same stuff. They roll the board of directors out and they travel the country and they tell you what the company's doing, what their profits were last year, what the strategy is for the coming year, where their markets are going and all that kind of stuff. And often they say, and what we need from you is, and inevitably it's integrated farm planning and more environmental, not usually more environmental like doing, usually more environmental recording and sustainability recording. Like there might be some actions in there, but more planning, more recording, more transparency through to them. And quite often they might say, well, if you do that, we might be able to get some more market access. We might be able to get higher dollars per kg. So there is a little bit of a carrot there, but essentially it's a bit of a stick as well. In that this is what we need. And we've talked a lot about this, about you've just got to do it to get that access. And this is what the trade agreements require. And this is what the contracts require. But quite often it's left me thinking, you, Mr. Whatever, have posted, not last year, but in the last couple of years, have posted huge profits, huge profits. The farmers, in a scale wise, haven't been posting profits that big. So you're one of the middlemen that's taking quite a lot of dollars out of this situation. And your shareholders are very happy. But to keep your shareholders happy, you need to support your farmers to deliver what you want them to deliver. And it gets me thinking, should these processors be supporting farmers to deliver their planning, their strategies, and help them upskill behind the farm gate? And so some people might say they do this in a small way, but what I'm sort of thinking is it the catchment group's responsibility to somehow find funding? These groups are so small, they're community groups, to then deliver, and usually all hats off to them, they do a great job, but quite often under-resourced as well. Because they're underfunded, they can't get the best of the best in to actually help people. Which is not fair either. Yeah. So, and is it their role to do this? So they do the integrated catchment planning, and they try to get farmers to do the integrated farm planning, and they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart because it's really good for their local environment. But is it their role to make sure that they're then compliant to the processor? So, or should we be looking at the processor for running workshops and upskilling their farmers? And they could do this in a myriad of ways. So they could do it in this environmental way. They could support farmers too. And the reason I see it as a benefit to processors is if you do professional development and sort of help farmers get their plans done, you will get better businesses supplying you. So they're going to know what their purpose is. They're going to know what their values are. They're going to be more upskilled in their leadership. So they're going to run more profitable, better businesses that are going to, deliver more sustainable outcomes. They're probably going to deliver better stock because they're going to, be passionate about it. Well, they're already passionate about it, but they're going to be on the money with it. They're going to know exactly what their business can do. They're going to understand you as a processor and what you want a lot more rather than, what they want to provide you. And it just gets me thinking, these really big companies, they do a lot for farmers, but do they work in that self-interest space where there's a crossover that everybody could benefit from? And I haven't seen a great deliverance there at this point in time. And it just makes me think, that was more what I was thinking. Yeah. And fill the gaps, but it's to fill the gaps that specifically really support those processes and take it locally, because I think a lot of these stuff, they have like 20 people a year can go through that course. I guess as well, becoming a mum, like it's in Wellington or Auckland, you can't necessarily go. And if you do go, like you say, you've got to get into the course, so you've kind of got to, you've got to put yourself forward, and then it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Whereas if it's in your region, it makes it a lot more accessible. If it's subsidized or funded, yeah, a bit of online. There's so many different ways that we can get this more knowledge, and like it's kind of that a rising tide lifts all boats type situation, right? Like everyone lifts up, and we've got a really good opportunity, I think, in the coming market. Like I was talking to someone in a coffee shop that happened to be a drafter. When you sit at a coffee shop and you just kids are a great way to get chatting with people, because they just stare at them, and then eventually someone has to say something because your 2-year-old's like staring at you. This guy said that he reckons the next couple of years are going to be quite strong with particularly beef prices going into the US because of their lack of herd. So, we're probably hopefully looking for a few rosier years. Is there a way to get everyone up on a level it's never going to be level, but up on a playing field where we can be delivering to these contracts a lot easier with more of a carrot, more targeted to what they actually require? Mm. Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about for a while. But anyway, I'd love to hear what other people think. Share it give us a message on our socials and let us know what you think. I'd be so curious. So before we wrap up, I don't know, do I have 2 recommendations? Do I have any recommendations? A couple of interesting things. So first up, when I was looking for news articles, New Zealand Master Distillers and Spirit Awards were last week in Wellington. And a couple of things got me just blown away. So obviously we've had a real boom in our distilling industry in New Zealand in recent times. And we have got some drinks that are really world class from what I can gather in terms of, who's who in the zoo and what they know. I don't know those sorts of things. They all get judged. And the most annoying thing is I can't find the winners. They must be secret. They had whiskey judges have up to 72 samples of whiskey to sample in one session, and they're looking for all those notes and stuff. And what's really exciting, I think, is what they're saying is whiskey takes a couple of years to be able to be called whiskey. And what they're really seeing is now that a lot of the gin distilleries, which were the first to appear in New Zealand, have had whiskey going on behind the market. So we're now seeing a real growth in this whiskey industry with some really cool whiskies coming through that are uniquely New Zealand. So they're seeing lots of Manuka smoke and even getting those marine aspects in there. So I think it's an exciting industry to watch, and I'm pretty sure everyone will have some favourite New Zealand distillers that they are supporting. But I guess I just found it so fascinating. I can't wait to see. I tried to Google it. I can't wait to see. I couldn't find it anywhere. Can't wait to see who won the awards. We have a local one here, which I'm sure everyone will have heard of, Scapegrace. It's literally 5Ks from the house, but they're doing some really cool stuff up at their site, and with their whiskies, which are now available in liquor stores. So, I think it was just super cool to see sort of I guess it is a bit of a new industry in New Zealand, or a bit of a booming industry kind of just be highlighted. Yeah. And then the other one, I don't know if we could go a week without talk. We couldn't talk about this, and I'm sure everyone's seen it, so it's not even going to be news to people, which is why I've just slipped it in at the end. But Northwear, they put on their big boy pants this week, didn't they? And sent an open letter to New Zealand Rugby. It was all over Facebook and Instagram. I'm sure people saw it. I shared it to our one. They've called it a playful jab on social media to get into a serious yarn, and I don't even think they meant to do a pun there, but obviously that's quite funny. Basically, Northwear said that some of their diehard fans had been in touch, diehard All Black fans had been in touch, basically saying, oh my gosh, our beanies are synthetic. I don't know why that's an oh my gosh, because you can tell that when you pick it up at the shop. But basically, they weren't that keen on synthetic beanies. Some fans have asked Northwear, you guys should be making the All Blacks beanies. We need wool and rugby. That's a New Zealand homegrown combo. So clever marketing from Northwear. Who knows what was going on in the background, if they'd been working away with NZRU for a while, or they'd been trying to break down the door. We know what that feels like, or whatever it was, but they've got their attention, which is the main thing. And apparently there's going to be some chats around what they might be able to work on together. So wouldn't that be cool? Nothing beats it.